Today on The Dugs, we'll continue our simulation of the tournament between all-time versions of franchises as we bring you the simulated highlights via old baseball clips and a half-drunk version of Sportscenter. Today's teams include the White Sox, Oakland A's, Minnesota Twins, and Arizona Diamondbacks. If that's not enough for you, we'll also tell you about the mothers of Sportscenter anchors getting hit in the face with baseballs, the worst base stealer of all time, and tell you which baseball player made it into this cinematic masterpiece.
Black Gun. He's gunning for the man and his trigger-happy hoods, and they can't shake him loose.
It's flu shot season, but if you need a cure for literally anything else, you're in luck. Because the Dugs have uploaded a new video. Welcome back to the Dugs, where everything we do is an excuse to tell a lot of baseball stories and a lot of jokes. This is part of our Franchise Cup series, but you can jump right into this as a standalone without an issue, as we'll be bringing you this game's round robin in its entirety. Let's get right into it. We're going to open things up with a battle between two franchises that have fan bases that are currently begging the ownership to sell. But it wasn't always that way, and maybe some of these all-timers can give them something to cheer about again. Or maybe not. Vita Blue is off to a rough start for the A's, walking the Sox's Minnie Minoso, then hitting Nellie Fox with a pitch, and since Minnie was able to advance to third on a fly ball, this Jose Abreu sac fly is going to get the Sox on the board first without the benefit of scratching out a hit as of yet. Who knows, maybe we plucked the multitasking version of Vita Blue out of history, and that's why he's having a hard time focusing. When Vita was on top of the pitching world, he managed to catch a small supporting role in a blaxploitation film called Black Gun. Looks like a top-notch film, featuring the worst driver you've ever seen in a protagonist. Seriously, there's like no one chasing him here. Shotguns that seem to randomly manifest, more wrestling moves that you can shake a stick at, and this classic move. Here's Vita. Got some shots in too. But let's hope he can channel some of that fighting spirit into his pitching performance. He's gonna get some help in the fourth. Bash Brothers are back, brother. This time it's Jose Canseco going yard for a solo shot in the fourth inning to tie it up. And they keep going. Jed Lowry comes up later that inning with the bases loaded and cleared the bases. He cleared them. That's another 3 runs, and Oakland is out to an early 4-1 advantage. Game's not over. In the bottom of the 6th, Maglio Ordonez gets the White Sox a second run with this solo shot, and 1 inning later, Minnie Minoso singles home a 3rd run. Starters come out before the 9th inning, and what we're left with is the Sox's Red Faber against the A's' Dennis Eckersley. Faber does his part in the 9th, but Eckersley is having a little bit more trouble. Robin Ventura kicks the Sox off with a double and makes his way to 3rd on a fielder's choice. Adam Eaton comes up huge in this opening game with a single to bring Ventura home, and so we are all tied up. I always thought of Eaton as more of a speed guy and, the guy that stabbed himself in the stomach in the parking lot of a Best Buy. But here he is playing run producer. So that puts us in extras. You know who's definitely a speed guy? Rickie Henderson, and he leads off the A's half of the 10th with a walk, which is just the last thing that you want to do. I mean, I guess I'd rather do that than stab myself in the stomach trying to wrestle a CD out of its case, but after that, it's definitely putting Rickie Henderson on first base for free, and here's why. He's still second, and then he's able to scramble over to 3rd on a sac fly, which means the A's have an out to play with, and Jason Giambi puts this one deep enough, meaning out of the infield, I guess, to allow Rickie to come home and score to take the lead in the top of the 10th. And you can get to Eckersley once, but good luck getting to him twice. He goes 1-2-3 in the 10th as he closes it out with Luke Appling grounding out. So the A's get out to a quick start in a nail-biter. Vita Blue ended up going 8 innings after that shaky first inning, only surrendering 3 earned runs. We didn't talk about Sox starter Eddie Seacott much, but he also had a nice game, just slightly less nice than Vita, striking out 10 and 7 2/3. Canseco gets the first dong for the Bash Brothers, Rickie Henderson swiped 2 bases, and Jed Lowry had the big blow, plating 3 with his RBI double. On the other end, Maglio Ordonez's great day going 3 for 5 with a home run just wasn't enough. So let's take a look at the other 2 teams in the group. Little spoiler here for you. This is going to be an extremely low-scoring game, thanks in part to the fantastic performances of the Twins' Bert Blyleven and the Diamondbacks' Brandon Webb. The D-backs' Paul Goldschmidt must be sensing that, because he successfully swipes a base in the 2nd to get into scoring position with no outs. He's not exactly a speedster, but he is efficient. From 2019 to 2022, he was caught stealing exactly once, managing 23 stolen sacks. Got me interested in who the worst base stealer of all time is. Now, there's a number of different ways to go about figuring that out, all with their pros and cons, but for my money, the worst base stealer of all time is Brett Butler. He lived by the expression, catch me once, shame on you. Catch me 257 times, fuck it, I could probably make it. He's third all-time in caught stealing and outside the top 20 in stolen bases. The only two people ahead of him are Rickie Henderson, and I don't think anybody's going to call him a poor base stealer. Sure, he was caught over 300 times, but that only represents 19% of his attempts. Lou Brock is in second, but was successful 75% of the time. Our buddy Brett was caught in 32% of his stealing attempts. That is all to say that when a team was wondering who killed their inning, more often than not, it was in fact the butler who did it. And yes, that was actually Brett Butler getting clocked in the nuts in the end. And I thought his son was walking up to him to finish him off. Maybe it was his mother's interference that ended up saving Brett's life. You see that, Sonny Jim? That's why you don't have a brother. So Goldie's on second with no one out, but he goes absolutely nowhere as 8 pitches later, Bert Blyleven manages to get out of the inning with a flyout from Ketel Marte, striking out Steve Finley, and getting Stephen Drew to ground out and the first pitch he sees. And that seems to have lit a fire under Blyleven as he goes into the next inning and sets down the side of Mark Reynolds, Miguel Montero, and Justin Upton on strikes. In fact, he tops out at 13 strikeouts as his final K of the day is Ketel Marte in the bottom of the 7th. But the Twins can't get anything off of Brandon Webb, so we're still scoreless going into the bottom of the 8th. This time it's Stephen Drew giving the Diamondbacks some hope as he nets himself a 1-out double. At 108 pitches, the Twins decide that that's probably enough for Blyleven and take him out for Frank Viola. Out number 2 when Mark Reynolds grounds out, but that allows Stephen Drew to advance to third, and that's trouble, because Viola was in the top 10 in wild pitches for 3 different seasons. You see what I did there? No need for the razor just yet. That's not 5 o'clock shadow, it's just a little foreshadowing. That late lead allows the Diamondbacks to close it out in the bottom half as Merrill Kelly is able to close it, and one of the least tenured teams in the tournament are out to a 1-0 start. Blyleven's 7 1/3 with 13 Ks was topped by Brandon Webb's 8 innings of scoreless 5-hit ball. Gary Gaetti was the only Twin to record multiple hits, both singles, and in fact, no Twin was able to get anything more than a 1-bagger. Not much offense to talk about in the 1-0 contest, but always fun to point out the golden sombrero as the Diamondbacks' Justin Upton picked up that dishonor. And the Twins and the White Sox are likely in a must-win situation as they face off in their second game of the group stage. Anytime you come off a game where you were shut out, the thought of what if we never score again forever enters your mind. Well, in the bottom of the second, Kirby says stick those concerns in a sock and puck it. This is an RBI double, and the Twins' first run of the game also gives them their first lead. And like someone enthusiastic about doing some complex origami, the Twins have discovered that they like scoring. Could have gone for the sex joke there, but I didn't because we're classy here at the Dugs. This is Tony Oliva launching a solo shot in the 4th to double the Twins' lead to 2. And that just might be enough. It's Johan Santanna going for the Twins, and he's been awfully tough. He kicks off the top of the 5th by striking out Robin Ventura and Sherm Lawler en route to his 5th straight scoreless inning. In the bottom of the 6th, if the Sox had any hope of coming back, Kirby's going to puck it up further with an RBI single. The 6th continues, and the Twins proceed to load up the bases for Gary Gaetti. Clear! You know, I've tried that out once, and I don't think it's a winner. We'll come up with something new for next time. I'm disappointed in our wordplay, but the Twins universe is not disappointed by their team's performance in this all-important second game. That 3-run double puts the Twins up 6-0, and that'll be enough to get the job done. The Sox get a few runs back in the later innings, but their NFT levels of relevant as here is Frank Thomas flying out to end the game. In our opening video, I shared my concerns with the all-time Sox offense, saying that Frank Thomas is going to have some big games. Well, thus far, he's gone 1 for 10 and has left 11 men on base. Why Frank Thomas hasn't snorted a barrel full of that testosterone booster he shills for is beyond me, but it might be too late to do it now. Meanwhile, Gary Gaetti is having a hell of a tourney so far. He had the big blow today and is hitting .429 across the first 2 games in the tourney. In fact, Gary is still making his mark on baseball today and recently had a management stint for the Sugarland Space Cowboys. Although, when he coached them, they were known as the Sugarland Skeeters. Skeeters is what you think it is, slang for those annoying bugs we all loved so much over the summer. Why you'd want to name yourself after such an irritating yet fragile little parasite is beyond me. Further, the logo would suggest that the team is sucking the lifeblood right out of the state of Texas. Not the most uplifting imagery. As bad as that is, though, I say bring the Skeeter name back along with the mascots. Sure, the nose might be a little phallic for some of the more sensitive fans, but it's at least a mosquito. You know what this is? I'll tell you what it isn't. It's sure as fuck not a space cowboy. This is not a mascot I'd be going on an epic space opera adventure with. This is something I'd get involved in some Care Bear bullshit with. Taking on, actually, I don't remember who the Care Bears fought at all. But you wouldn't find me forgetting about an epic space cowboy adventure. Get your act together, Sugarland. Anyhow, our next matchup between the Diamondbacks and the A's will give us a clear-cut group leader. Rickie Henderson is doing Rickie Henderson things to ensure that it will be the A's. Tell me if you've seen this one before. Rickie leads off the bottom of the first with a single, and then, as Rickie Rickie does, Rickie's still second base. He's able to scoot on over to third on a fielder's choice and then scores on this Jason Giambi sac fly. I'm saying Rickie a lot because Rickie likes saying Rickie a lot. His propensity to refer to himself in the third person is just one of his many quirks. Let's play the lightning round with some of the others. He once freaked out a team's accounting department because he decided to hang his $1 million bonus check on his wall instead of cashing it. He got frostbite in the middle of August because he fell asleep on an ice pack. In response to someone telling him he could sit wherever he wanted because he had tenure, Rickie responded that he in fact had 16 year, maybe even 17 year. When he was living in Manhattan, he claimed to live right next to the entire state building. And lastly, not 100% sure this one's verified, but before games he would stand nude in front of a full-length mirror and repeat "Rickie is the best" for several minutes. Well, he's no Rickie, but Steve Finley's doing it with his feet as well. He reaches in the second with a single, later still second, and then comes home on a Stephen Drew double to tie the game at 1. We stay even at 1-1 for a while actually. Zac Gallen, who was drafted in 2016, mind you, so he is by far one of the youngest players in this tourney, only surrendered 3 hits all day and was getting A's to fly out left and right, amassing 8 in total. But Arizona, who only scored 1 run in their earlier winning effort, is having issues getting that second run once again, as Tim Hudson gets Paul Goldschmidt to end the 5th with a double play. Gallen doesn't blink either. Here he is, striking out the side of Rickie Henderson, Jason Giambi, and Mark McGwire. In fact, we stay at 1-1 without many good scoring opportunities all the way until the 9th. Diamondbacks fail to come up with anything in their half of the inning, but the A's are finally getting something going on their end. Jose Canseco kicks off the inning with a single, so that's trouble. Diamondbacks bring in Robbie Ray to face the lefty and Jason Giambi, but that doesn't help, as Giambi singles, putting runners on the corners with no one out for Mark McGwire. 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, and, crap. I forgot how it goes. Some preservatives, probably got some soy in there now. The occasional fingernail, whatever, doesn't matter. We're going to Big Mac land as Mark McGwire is going to walk us off and win the game 4-1 for the A's. The pitching performances were excellent on both sides. Tim Hudson's 7-inning, 5-hit, 9K performance wasn't enough to get the Diamondbacks over the hump. And Mark McGwire joins his Bash brother in the spotlight with his big home run, though it's worth noting that this is his first hit of the tourney thus far. So here's what we know. Oakland's definitely in the top 2 and will definitely be playing some more baseball after this qualifying round. The Twins can actually clinch the group title with a win against the A's in their next game, but if they lose, their fate could be determined by the results of the Diamondbacks White Sox game. Before we get into that, however, it's time for our latest installment of Who Has More Subscribers Than Us. Today, we look at Paintify Coloring. I try not to judge others' parenting styles, but I'm not entirely sure how watching coloring is better for your kid than, I don't know, getting them to actually color something their own damn selves. It's like pre-K Twitch. You know, at the beginning here, I wasn't even that mad. There's worse things in the world. But then I found out that their most popular video features Peppa Pig and has been watched 98 million times. Partner that with the fact that they have over 1 million subscribers wanting to know when the latest coloring sheet is coming out, while we sit at a balmy 489. Don't let the kids miss out on the wholesome family content that is the Dougs. You can help out by subscribing to us, liking this video, and leaving us some comments because we do love to chat. And as far as the kids-centric content is concerned, we're almost definitely done talking about things like baseball erotica. Trust us. Let's get back to it. We'll start with the Diamondbacks going against the Sox. Do or die time for Chicago. If they want a shot at qualifying, they're going to need to start with a win here and a Twins loss. Well, that's not what you like to see. Paul Goldschmidt takes the second pitch of the game and shows it to its seat. It's 1-0 Diamondbacks. It doesn't last long, however, as Robin Ventura fires right back with a solo shot of his own. He's getting 1 run on a homer the more traditional way here. Back in the 1999 World Series, that was not the case. Ventura is credited with what is most commonly referred to as the Grand Slam single. The Mets and Braves were in the 15th inning with the bases loaded and the Mets' Robin Ventura at the plate. And there it goes, game over. But wait, here's Robin. More importantly, Roger Cedeno was the only one to cross the plate before the Mets all lost their minds, which I get, it's the Mets. Whatever though, Mets get the win, no big deal, right? Tell that to the sports gamblers at the time. Most sports books set the over-under at 7.5 runs. The Mets' excessive celebration made the Grand Slam an RBI single as Cedeno was the only one to score, making the official final 4-3, which, put the calculators away, I got you, is under 7.5 runs, whereas if the runners all made their way around the bases, the final would have been 7-3, which is most decidedly over the 7.5 runs in total. That's gonna leave a salty group of bettors. And it also deprived Ventura's claim to be the first walk-off grand slam in postseason history. Instead, that little bragging right goes to the recently retired Nelson Cruz for his homer in 2011. The Diamondbacks have saved Randy Johnson for this third and final game, so he's been able to keep it relatively low scoring. But Doc White has been matching him pitch for pitch for the Sox. The unit has to come out after this Maglio Ordonez single in the 7th, however, as his pitch count gets north of 110 and the Sox have runners on first and second with nobody out. D-backs bring Patrick Corbin in, and he's no Randy Johnson. After a fielder's choice advances the runners to second and third, Robin Ventura draws a walk, as does Sherm Lawler, and so the leading run comes in via the base on balls. He gets out of it after letting that one run in, but the damage has been done. The Sox still lead by that same margin in the 9th, and Wilbur Woods strikes out 2 of the 3 men in the inning to close it out. The Sox needed the win to stay in, but the only way they were going to advance was for there to be 3 teams with only 1 win, and for them to have the superior run differential. Having only won this one by 1, they're still behind the Diamondbacks by a run in run differential, and therefore have been eliminated. The Diamondbacks, on the other hand, need the Twins to lose by at least 6 to advance, as any other result will see the A's and Twins as the top 2. And the Twins are already up 1-0 in their game, when Marcus Semien throws the D-backs a little hope in the second with this 2-run home run. The very next inning, Mark McGwire gives them a little bit more with a 2-run homer of his own. Leather-skinned retirees in the desert are going back for extra helpings of pudding at the lunch buffet. Someone needs to slow the A's down. In the bottom of the 3rd, Knobloch steps up to the plate and volunteers his tribute. Get chucked. That's just a solo shot, however, but Chuck Knobloch gets the lead down to 2. Knobloch was pretty popular with the Twins on account of being a complete player, winning both the Golden Glove and Silver Sluggers at various points in his career. It didn't stay like that, however. Knobloch's one of those guys that developed the yips over at second base. The summit of that journey into the yips is likely, well, I'll just let the video do the talking for me.
He's throwing it into the stands, and ironically enough, the ball hit Keith Olbermann's mother right between the eyes. She was all right, the glasses were broken.
Gotta make that catch, Olbermann. Apparently the yips isn't the only thing you can call it. I'd not realized that the Steve Sax syndrome was also an acceptable term for it. In 1983, Sax suddenly lost his ability to throw the ball to first from his post at second, collecting 30 errors that year. Fans that sat behind first base would mockingly wear batting helmets to protect themselves from errant Sax balls. The yips vanished as quickly as they came, as after the All-Star break that year, he only had 3 additional errors. The dying words of his father were said to be the remedy for his mental block, and thus we know how to eradicate this terrible malady from the game completely, though very few are interested in human sacrifice. No sacrifices here in the 4th. This Roy Smalley double for the Twins makes it a 1-run game, and this Tony Oliva single the following inning ties it up at 4. It also advances the potential leading run to third base in Rod Carew with no one out. Herman Killebrew gets the ball in the air to the outfield, but Rickie doesn't just steal bases. Rickie continues to be Rickie and guns him down, keeping the game tied. The Twins' next chance would come in the 7th, and it arrives in a super ugly fashion. Sonny Gray hasn't been great for the A's, but things take a turn several miles south of great in this inning. He strikes 2 of the initial batters out, but he also manages to walk the bases loaded. That will end his day as the A's bring in Houston Street to relieve him. Oh no. Bob Allison takes one for the team, and that's gonna give the Twins the lead, and Kirby Puckett makes it hurt even more with this 2 RBI single. That cushion will be enough to take both the game down and the group championship. The A's will grab the 2nd place slot despite Rickie Henderson setting a Franchise Cup record with his 4th stolen base of the qualifying stage. Knobloch scored 3 of the Twins' 7 runs, while Kirby Puckett led the way for the Twins with 2 RBIs on the day. Let's see what that does to the Cup standings. Last chance to turn away before we spoil the results of the other videos in the playlists. Okay, we good? That loss brings the A's run differential to only +1, and they rank behind the Rangers on the tiebreaker of runs surrendered, and so they become the new bubble team in terms of who will need to win a play-in game to advance to the next round. They become that bubble team because the Pirates are now guaranteed to be one of those 4 play-in teams. Meanwhile, the Red Sox are guaranteed an automatic berth into the next round as they can no longer fall into that bottom 4. When we return to this series, we'll find out if the A's will be the next team into the play-ins, or whether it will be one of these teams from the next group, as we'll be seeing the Guardians, Mets, Marlins, and we'll be returning to the historic franchises as we bring the Washington Senators into the mix. If you enjoy what you saw here today, make sure you subscribe, like, and leave some comments, as that's the quickest way to make the Dugs a thing. And as always, I've been Johnny Paprika, hoping all of your balls are fair and all of your wood is good. Good night, everybody.